Om Sai Ram. Let me start by just saying one thing before I acknowledge everyone's presence, which is that we have all become so materialistic in our individual lives. And I read this saying, which I think is apt to start with, because it's absolutely what Bhagwan propagated and what he did. And it says that money is a marvelous servant, but a terrible master. Please think about it. Money is a marvelous servant, but a terrible master. Let me start by acknowledging the presence of Dr. K.K. Mistry, Mr. Vijay Bhaskar, Mr. Ramesh Sawant, whose wife I think is up here, Mr. Nimish Pandya, whose wife is up here too, Mrs. Rama Das, my mentor in a way, Urvashi Saxena, and most of all, I'd like to thank Neela and Sameer Bhatia, who are silently somewhere, but the reason for whom I am here, because if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here today. But having said that, I think it's not just something that I wanted to be here for, but I definitely want to share with you that as a young girl, when I was in school, I don't know how many of you know, but my grandmother, Mrs. Maharashtra Chudasama, for all the senior citizens here, you all must know that she was the biggest devotee, and at Carmichael House, as a child, we used to go for her bhajans. And I think that the story of our family's connection to this great organization started when I was only a child. So today it's kind of nostalgic to be giving a memorial where the topic is the role of women and the role of women in social change. You know, today, this morning, I was watching Amir Khan's program. I'm sure a lot of you watched Sathya Mein Jayate. And the first thought that came to mind is that how do we get rid of this social menace, which is where every single family only wants a male child. Every single mother-in-law says, "Mujhe pota chahiye." And every single woman is fighting within herself to say, "Ki poti hua to kya?" When I heard your compere speak about Easwaramma and the entire narration, which I thought was so beautifully put together, congratulations. I really think that for us to talk about women's role in society today, it has to start by women supporting women. It has to start by each one of us propagating the kind of thought process कि मुझे पोती चाहिए. If we really talk about empowerment of women today, how is it possible? Is it possible only by government policies? Clearly not. Least of all, I would say. It happens through good mindset, it happens through good cultural values, and it happens when every single woman is Atmanirbhar. Yani ki, when she is self-sufficient. And that's why when I heard Mrs. Mohan talk about the programs and projects that you all have taken on, I think that that is the beginning for sure, but that is the only way. The only way to reach out to women and to make sure that they make a change in their lives and in society at large is when they are economically self-sufficient. I'd like to share with you one story which moved me terribly. All of us know about 2611 and the various stories all across the city. We have a young team that works with me, and I'm not going to talk about politics here at all. I'm going to talk only about the kind of social service that you, me, and every single person can do. We used to go from hospital to hospital trying to see what were the needs of the patients, what is really required in that moment. And I remember we used to always go to JJ Hospital, and over there, we used to go to the normal ward. Nobody ever thought about going to the pediatric ward. One day my sister-in-law mentioned to me, she said, you know, in the pediatric ward there is somebody who is very, very deserving and we should go there. She's a young girl and her name is Sunita Yadav. Immediately we went there. There was this young girl from UP, Sunita Yadav, with her little baby child, Sheetal Yadav, who was just 3 months. She had a bullet injury in her neck. She was barefoot and she was literally in a moment of panic because she didn't know what to do. Her husband had died in 26/11, didn't know where to go, really was totally clueless. And there she had her father, who had come down from UP and made it seem as it was the biggest obligation that he was doing to help his own daughter. And he told me, क्या करे, ये तो पनौती है, इसकी शादी की थी, अभी देखो क्या हुआ, वापस आ गई घर पे, घर में पैसा नहीं है, क्या करेंगे इसका? It was this kind of language and anxiety. We decided immediately to take on a campaign. We approached NDTV. We said, let's run a campaign for this baby, that is Sheetal Yadav, and let's run a project where we are able to raise X amount of money through I Love Mumbai, which is my father's foundation, checks going directly into that child's name, so she has X amount for her education and for her future. You'd be amazed to know what a large heart the city of ours and Mumbai has. You know, 3,000 years ago when Manu talked about Daan, I don't think it was a concept which is rare to any Indian. We had young children who came with piggy banks of 400 and 500 rupees. We had 117 checks just by people watching this campaign that baby Sheetal Yadav is got a life ahead, no father. The in-laws, if at all, were fighting with this lady Sheetal Yadav, Sunita Yadav, to figure out who the money should go to from the government. We appealed to the collector saying, please give it to this girl because she has this little girl child and we want to make her life. At the end of it, we had 117 checks and we collected 26 lakh rupees directly in Sunita Yadav's name, with a clause that it will be spent only for Sheetal Yadav's education, for her livelihood. But what I won't forget is at that program where my father was actually handing this out to the family, Sunita Yadav's father said, मैडम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, ये तो हमारी लक्ष्मी है, सरस्वती है, घर की सब कुछ है, इसके लिए तो हम आए थे, ये नहीं है तो हम क्या है? And I just thought to myself, that isn't this what India really is? The reason I'm speaking about this is because we all talk about how can we change, what can we change, what shall we do? It's about connecting people. And it really isn't even about money. There are so many givers. And I think the biggest example is Bhagwan, who is a giver here, there and everywhere. The concept of just making sure that every single village has water, drinking water, isn't that something that our big political leaders across party lines should have done in 60 years of independence? Think about it. Last night I was on this television debate and it was shocking to know that through RTI, an activist has found out the amount of wastage of water in ministers' homes. I don't know how many of you have seen it. But it really makes you ponder that do we have no social responsibility? Do we have no kind of commitment to making not just a city better, but the country better? You know, I don't want to tom-tom too much about what I have done because I haven't done anything yet, but I definitely want to tell the young ladies here that, and even the senior citizens, when I entered politics, most people were in shock. Everyone thought that what is the reason for a fashion designer who's established in a professional line to enter politics or to plunge into this big, bad, dirty world? And I used to think that most people are in such shock. How do I address it? My father told me just one thing. He said negative thinkers focus only on problems. It is only positive thinkers that focus on solutions. So if you want to be a part of the solution, remember always that success and excuses do not talk to each other. So if you give excuses, forget about success. And if you want success, forget about excuses. I think that was something that really was a calling and an advice that I followed from day one. The reason I joined politics is not because I am in the quest or hunger for power. And in fact, very often I joke that the Shaina NC always stands for Shaina non-corrupt. And I wish that more Indians would think that way. But for women who want to make a change, it's not necessary to enter politics. You can do it by supporting the cause of your choice. You can do it by supporting our cancer patients. You can do it by supporting the cause of girl children. You can do the same by just working for victims in a tsunami or a 2611 or the spastic society or the blind. Any cause that you feel for. And really today I tell you with deepest humility, women are not just multitaskers. We know how to manage time better than every man in this world. Whether it is a profession, handling your children, handling your in-laws, handling your husband, handling a career outside your profession, whether it is just doing good work and giving back to society. So my appeal to everyone is, rather than talking about tall claims that you want to eradicate poverty and you want to get rid of illiteracy, take on a tangible project. Take on any project that you feel for and make that change. And my appeal to the Sathya Sai Baba Foundation and Trust, that really what we need is only education. There is a saying in Marathi which you all probably know, Mulgi Shikli Pragati Zhali. And that is so true. Moment the mindset changes, you will see only development, development, development. There's one last story I want to share with you without being addicted to the mic like most Indians are. But I'd like to say that, I wanted to take on one tangible project which made a difference. And of course, thanks to my father, we've been planting trees, environment, etc., which goes on as a movement. But for young girls, I thought that, I hear a lot of them in college saying that we want to do something, but we don't know what to do. We want to contribute, but we don't know how to contribute. We want to do something for society, but we don't know how to. I had seen this movie called Shwas. I don't know how many of you have seen it. But it's a very motivating film which shows you the predicament of a young child going to a government hospital and how dismal and how awful the pediatric wards are. So I interacted with this group of girls in JJ School of Arts and I told them that, let's just do something that is visible and that shows that you can make a change to the lives of these young patients who go to municipal hospitals. So we took on 12 municipal hospitals in Mumbai, Nair, KEM, Sion, in Ghatkopar, Bhaba, Bandra, Bhaba. There were so many hospitals and we approached them and said that give us the pediatric walls. These students from JJ School of Applied Art will paint and beautify the walls and make it really pretty. So when that child going there for the prick, rather than thinking of grey walls with spit stains, will see a Mickey Mouse or a Donald Duck and feel happy. First, they were all hesitant. They were wondering whether we should, whether we shouldn't. When I motivated them, all of them agreed. They gave up their summer jobs and they said, okay, let's do it. In little groups, they went to each of these hospitals. We called up a corporate sponsor for paints and said, will you just provide us with paints? And they said yes immediately. They provided us with the raw material. If at all, the hardest was to get permission from the BMC, despite it being part of my party. But having said that, the biggest problem was to get these permissions because they used to always ask, Where do you want your name? Where do you want that plaque? We said, we don't want any of it, just let us start. By the end of the 3 weeks, 12 municipal hospitals, by spending no money of our own, by just connecting young artists, a sponsor who gave us paint, and the government who gave us the hospitals, we revamped those hospital pediatric wards. And this was a project done only by girls. Reason I'm narrating this is not to kind of tom-tom, but to suggest that if you really want to do something, there is so much that we can all do. There is so much that we can all contribute towards. You know, there's a saying in Hindi, which I think is very nice. It says, ईश्वर पे भरोसा करना तो कोई परिंदों से सीखे. ईश्वर पे भरोसा करना तो कोई परिंदों से सीखे, क्योंकि जब वो शाम को घर वापस जाते हैं तो उनके चोंच में कल के लिए कोई दाना तक नहीं होता. Really think about, so many of us are only worried about material gains. We all are, I am too. But in that rat race, if we can give just a little back to society, what a better place. And I think that this responsibility lies on women. It happens with every woman giving back to society, and it can happen when she gets a little from society, from people like us, and from organizations such as us. Baba's vision is something that is unique to just him and nobody else. I think today, on this specific day, when one knows that 75 crore people go hungry to bed and 40,000 die of starvation every day in this world. 40,000 people die of starvation every single day in this world. If we who can eat more than 3 meals just give back half a meal, what a better place to live in. Thank you all for having me here.